Mm-hmm. just begin. I hand over to Apala to start the evening.
Hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Great. So good evening. Some of you know me as Apala. Some of you know me as Titir. Some of you know me as Prof's daughter. But today isn't about me. Today, we're all gathered here to celebrate a rather special occasion. But before we get to that, let me tell you a little bit about an exceptional person. A long journey filled with memories. Let's take a look back in time. Close your eyes and let time freeze. 60 years ago. Yes, it's been a while. He entered the world in 1963 into a large family in Shibpur, the oldest sibling of 3, and with a personality demure. His interests ranged from art to football, with drawing elephants with his aunt. Not even a broken nose or a bad fall could make him say, "I can't." His unconditional love for sweets and brinjal brought him trouble, from running through narrow streets to getting punished in double. Soon he moved from school to college and started his BE. There he discovered his thirst for knowledge and truly opened his eyes to see. After years of long nights, he finally graduated and decided to work. One missed train and an equivalent flight landed him in ISC with a smirk. Through hours and hours of classes he disliked, ailments in flights back home, notes from friends led an interest to spike. Soon Cambridge called him home. A PhD in design? What a preposterous thought! Yet years later he submitted. Met many a friend and many they fought. A warm blanket some of them knitted. A few years later he flew back and met Anuradha, his wife. Luggage for 2 and a backpack. They head off to start a new life. Cambridge was home for 14 years. In 2000 came I. In 2001 we shifted gears. To IIC did we fly. From CED to DRM classes and now to 29 students. From designing chairs to wearing thick glasses, he's witnessed many special moments. Today, we celebrate a man filled with love and a passionate drive. Today, we celebrate 60 years of my dad and a toast to his hyper, healthy, and happy life. So before we start with all the events we've planned for today, I'd like to call him to cut his cake. Baba? There, go cut your cake.
बार बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिल ये गाए, तू जिए हजारों साल, ये मेरी है आरज़ू। Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you। बार बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिल ये गाए, तू जिए हजारों साल, ये मेरी है आरज़ू। Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you। बार बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिल ये गाए, तू जिए हजारों साल, ये मेरी है आरज़ू।
request you all to please take your seats. I'm sure we have enough cake for everybody. I request all of you to please take a seat. Dr. Shivakumar, to please come up here and say a few words. Baba, can you please come up here once more?
So this is the traditional Karnataka way to commemorate somebody. And we'll start with Professor Gurumurthy. On behalf of the department, we'll felicitate Professor Chakravarti.
I have mixed everything and I thought I you can balance Guru on the side.
We celebrate 60 years of Amaresh. All of you have met him at a different time, known him as a student, some as a professor, and some as family. But what remains common is that you have all known him as a friend. This evening, I hope to take you on a small journey through time and share a glimpse of Baba, my dad, painted in colors you haven't seen before. I've always heard stories of Baba's childhood. Hours of playing football, running around the streets with a tennis ball, and painting all day. I'd like to call Ujan to talk a little bit about that time in his life.
Hello everyone. So I am Ujan, or Audrija my name is, but I'm mostly known as Ujan here. So I am a part of Anirban, which was a very small club of Amaresh Jethu and his friends. So, and it meant a great deal to each one of them. So I'm Shomo's daughter. He was also a member of that club. Unfortunately, none of them could be here today. So I am here incidentally, and I am representing Anirban. So I've heard a lot of stories about Anirban and their activities there. For example, how they used to play football all day. And what I have realized is Amaresh Jethu was not only just a member, but a leader of Anirban. As I've heard from my father and the other members, my other Jethus and Kakus, they have always portrayed him as a leader, an elder brother, and family. And Anirban meant a great deal to each one of them. So on behalf of Anirban and on behalf of all of them, I wish you all the very best, and once again, happy birthday. Thank you so much.
After a long discussion with his uncle, Baba finally decided to pursue engineering. 4 years flew by. There he met Shubhrato Sen, or famously known as PK. I'd like to call upon PK Kaku to talk a little bit about that time.
Well, good morning to everybody. Good evening to everybody. I have come here to celebrate the 60th date of birth of 60th birthday of my dearest friend, Amaresh. I'm his college mate. We studied engineering together, and it was in those college days, it was a very short journey of few years, but it's still fresh in my memory. Actually, we developed our friendship not from the very first day, but almost at the end of the third year. And our friendship started with an adventure, which ended up a little bit in a desired way. We wanted to go to some places, and then we reached in another place, but actually it played havoc in his family because we went there without telling anybody. So I'm not going in detail of that, but that was our starting of our friendship. The total 4th year we studied together. Our day started from morning 4 a.m. and we used to end up something around 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And throughout the day, we used to study together, gossip together, and do all sort of things which we can do together. So those were the days, and after that, our friendship continued. I also went to his Cambridge University once to meet him, and often I come here also. And gradually I became a part of his family also. So on his 60th birthday, I wish him a very, very happy birthday and a happy journey onward. And I wish you continue with your bright career in future also. Thank you.
After his BE, he decided to go to IIT Kharagpur to study industrial management. But my dad missed his train and somehow landed up in IISc. Let me ask Suman Datta, my cousin, to add his touch to the painting we're drawing of my dad.
Audible, right? Amaresh Chakraborty. Better? Better? No? This is better? Okay. Professor Chakraborty, I'm hesitating to take his name this way. He's my mama. And looking at my gray hair, at least there is no fear to judge his age at this point of time because we all know his age. Yeah, he's my mama, but he's more of an elder brother than a mama. He has been the brightest student in the family. That student who has been, who's compared always with others. I was very junior, so I was not being compared. I was rather being taught by him, and I used to be hell scared of math. And I used to avoid him, thinking that he will keep asking me to do maths. So, but yeah, I couldn't avoid it, finally. I had to do it. But I think I have, when Titir asked me to talk something about him, I mean, there was a flood of memories. But the one which distinctly stood out when he first time came back from abroad. And it was fascinating. Fascinating not because somebody is coming from abroad, fascinating because our world was only Calcutta that time, and our window to the world was Pranay Roy's World This Week. So he brought a complete account of the world to us. And when he used to open his box, it was the moment. What is it? What's in it for me? And there was amazing gifts, which probably we get it in the nearest mall today, but in 1990s, those were not very those were not very available across the street. So, but I think what he gradually built inside all of us, not just those gifts, not just those stories, but the belief, the strength. No? I'm too long. Okay. So what really I realized today, that what he really inculcated in all of us, the confidence that we all can get there if we do our study right. And that's where I see, although I'm not being taught by him directly, but he's a great teacher. And today, at my 50, I keep learning from him the life lessons. So, well, Mama, 60 is the new 20, as I said earlier also. Keep teaching, keep rocking, keep traveling, and be good. Love you.
Going to Cambridge, Baba met a lot of wonderful and interesting people. Among them was Anil Sethi. Can I please call him up to speak a little bit?
Hold that. If that's not working, this is back up.
Am I audible? Am I audible now? Right. So, I'm not quite prepared for a formal speech, but I shall say this, that three things stand out for me as far as Amaresh is concerned. One, that I discovered that he was a Renaissance man. He could do almost everything. He played football, very deeply interested in sport of all kinds, a great artist, very fond of all kinds of art, including the framing of photographs, painting, sketching. He's just recently done a book of his own art, and I think all of you should see it. Science, engineering, music, and within his own professional discipline, I thought that he was always somebody who could be very good at theoretical issues, but also at making things, at practical issues, and that is something that stood out for me. So, in various ways, he was a Renaissance man, and he is a Renaissance man, and that strikes me to be one of his greatest qualities. The other thing that moved me no end and continues to move me is that he has his heart in the right place, and he is someone who would go out of his way to do something for disadvantaged groups, whether it is people who are underprivileged in terms of class or caste or any kind of marginal group. He would really work very hard to try and benefit them in some way or the other. This is something that has always touched me. And when you combine a very bright mind with the heart in the right place, that I think is, there can be nothing better than that. Also, I was touched by the fact that when he finished at Cambridge, he said, look, I must go back and work for the disadvantaged people in my country. You know, that there are lots of disadvantaged people all over the world, and there are lots of problems all over the world. I can't take care of everything. But, you know, to do something for young disadvantaged students in India is my patch of darkness, and I shall light that. Finally, I would like to say on a personal note that what I've also enjoyed with him is the ease with which you discuss things. You know, we argue, we have our own points of view at times, but it's never as if that we are polemical, never as if that we are scoring points. It's always an attempt to solve a problem. You know, very often in Sakhya, in other places where we've worked together, Sakhya was a group that came together in Cambridge that collected funds for needy non-government organizations in India. And we did a lot of work together there, Amaresh and I. And whenever we worked, there were different points of view. But what was special about Amaresh was that I could discuss things with him in terms of solving a problem rather than in terms of scoring points. So it's been a great delight working with him and thinking with him, doing various kinds of activities with him, especially arguing with him. That is something that I've always enjoyed. So thank you so much, Amaresh. You know, today is your 60th, and I do hope, this is my sincere wish, that I see you in a design center or a design lab even in your 90s, doing something and working, you know, very actively till the very end. Titir said to me, you know, you must tell us what is the one word that strikes you about him. And I said, my God, I don't believe in these one-word thingies, but there is no one word in a sense. I mean, he's a Renaissance man, that's the word. But he's also bubbly, he's full of life, he's passionate, he's extremely energetic, and that's why I say that he should be in a design center even in his 90s. But he also has a lot of very positive feeling and backs it with a lot of effort to help disadvantaged people. That's how I would summarize Amaresh Chakrabarti. Thank you.
"14 years is a long time to write a book with someone. What is even more fascinating is how Aunt Lushan embraced Baba's hyper-personality and finished writing DRM. I'd like to call upon Aunt Lushan to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Apala, for the introduction, referring to this long project that we were going to. But okay, thank you. That works. At least you get you awake. The collaboration with Amaresh and our friendship started actually over 3 decades ago. When I moved to Cambridge in 1992, where Amaresh was doing his PhD. And I still remember we were all there in a fairly small space, so everyone just had his desk. And Amaresh had the habit, when he wanted to go for tea, he would shake your chair. So while you were in deep thoughts, of course, Shawar as a researcher, he would come and shake your chair and ask very friendly, shall we go for a tea? And we've done that for 8 years there. But also what I learned there together with Dwaraka, because Dwaraka and Amaresh, when I planned to go and visit India, which they said I should do, they taught me how to eat with your hand, only your right hand, and they gave me very saucy meals, and I had to eat it by hand. So I figured out how to do that, and it was very useful when I went indeed backpacking in 1994. During that visit, I also got to know Amaresh's family in Howrah. I visited Howrah and his parents. And one time we were visiting, I can't recall, I think it was Santiniketan. And suddenly Amaresh had to go. And later on, I realized that was when he first met Anuradha. And that is where the seed was on, and he was really enthusiastic when he came back. And you see the consequences of that many years later. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the wedding because I was like 8 months pregnant, and they don't allow you in the plane. But when we were in Cambridge after the wedding, Anuradha was coming to Cambridge. And so Amaresh asked me to look with him for apartments where the two could move. And Amaresh was so worried that Anuradha would be cold. And so he even decided on one apartment, which was very nice, but only had the heating in the living room and not in the bedroom. So his suggestion was, let's move the bedroom to the living room and the living room to the bedroom so that at least at night she is warm. And I thought, and what is she going to do during daytime? Yeah. And then we visited another apartment, I remember, and that had a dining room with kitchen attached. And in the dining room, there was a table that was so big, you could hardly sit around it. It was immensely big. And then when we walked out of the apartment, Amaresh said, you know what I'm really worried about? And I said, no, what do you mean? It was a nice apartment. He said, there is no table to dine at. And it was the biggest table I've ever seen in my life. Now, the problem was indeed you could not even sit around it, so little space was left. But eventually he found a nice apartment, and that is when Anuradha came, and it turned out Anuradha actually likes the cold. She never had a problem really with the cold there. But I hope I could at least help you find this apartment. Another thing that I remember from Cambridge is what we started calling doing an Amaresh. And Amaresh might not even be aware of that either. Doing an Amaresh was the following. Amaresh, when he would go home, he would always bring books. Now, books are heavy, and every airline has a limited amount of kilograms that you can carry. But it doesn't say how much kilograms you can carry on your body. So he would wear trousers with pockets, a jacket with pockets, a coat that had enormous amount of pockets. And he said they never weigh you. So he went to get through the customs and anything, completely packed. He looked like this little Michelin man, you know. So that was doing an Amaresh, and we still practice it occasionally. Yes, and there the book that Apala was already talking about, we started the book in 98, 99, and we thought it would be ready in 2000, because then Amaresh moved to Bangalore and I moved to Berlin. But the book wasn't ready, and actually it wasn't published till 2009. But it was a good opportunity for me, a good excuse if you want, to come to Bangalore once a year for a month. And I truly enjoyed that. That was really great. And of course, both of us were no longer students, no longer just researchers. We had a lot of things to do. But we would still meet up at conferences. Apala stayed with us for a few months in Singapore. Maybe we were in Singapore, yeah. But finally, we decided that it's time for a new book, a new edition of the book. And so I will be looking forward to the last 3 months of this year, when I will be back again here in Bangalore. And I really hope, Amaresh, that will be the beginning of another 30 years of friendship. Thank you very much.
next, I'd like to call upon Dwaka uncle. I'd love to delve into his rich background, but I'm going to stop with thank you for helping Baba submit his PhD thesis.
I have you all a lot of energy. Can I hear some energy in the room? Oh, the cake was good. All right, excellent. So I think looking at Amaresh, I think I seem to have known him right from my birth. It's been more than 30, 35 years, and the first time I'm just recollecting. When did I actually meet him? Normally, the Cambridge Nehru scholars, we arrive in October, with this scholarship, in Cambridge, and October 4th, 1991 is when we arrived, and there's a group of about 10 students. We went on a plane, and then our seniors normally come to the airport to collect us, to take us to our respective colleges as well, so. And, we spent the weekend, and then the beginning on Monday morning, I went to the engineering department, and I met everybody at the Engineering Design Center. And there I met Amaresh. If you go look at the next slide, please. So that's Amaresh Chakrabarti at his desk in the Engineering Design Center, guys. Put your hands together to Amaresh. That's what he was there. And as Luciano was saying, that's the desk, and he used to shake everybody else's desks, when he was moving around at the center. And, that week, or the first week at Cambridge, that, we had a formal dinner in the college. And formal dinners in colleges are with gowns and ties and, funny dress. But the most interesting thing for me was that when I sat at the dining table, I had a plate in front of me with 3 forks on the right side and 3 knives on the right side, 3 forks on the left, and 2 spoons in front. They were all of varying sizes. I had absolutely no clue. I was anyway worried that I need to use knife and fork. I've never used that in my life before. But looking at the different size, I was a little scared. Now, I was looking at the guy who was in front of me to say that, okay, when he starts, let me copy him, what he exactly does. And he didn't start. He was waiting. And suddenly somebody, a British gentleman was sitting diagonally on the right. He leaned forward, and he told me, outside in. I was just wondering, what does he mean? Then he said, outside in. He took the knife from outside on the right side and took the fork from the left side, and he started eating. And then I realized, oh, wow, that's the way you should do things. So I took the same. And then the whole course went. And anyway, the food was not that great, So then I came next day to talk to Amaresh Da and to say that, hey, this is what happened. I didn't know how to use the fork and knife. And they have 3 knives and 3 forks. Immediately he said, Dwarka, I'm going to teach you how to use knife and fork. Let's go for lunch together. I was wondering, hey, Amaresh, you eat fish, and I don't eat fish. I'm a vegetarian. Where do we go? He said, let's go to the Pizza Hut. So it's a Pizza Hut, for those who have been into Cambridge. It's very close to Emmanuel College. And this particular restaurant is next to a coffee shop, which I believe used to be frequented by Rajiv and Sonia. All right? So it's in the pillar, it's written, Rajiv and Sonia met here. Ours was not that romantic lunch. We went there to the Pizza Hut, having a pizza. And then he was explaining to me, you see the fork? You look at the neck of the fork, you should apply the pressure at the neck of the fork. You hold it like this, and you just poke or pin down the pizza. It was almost like a war, right? I pinned down the pizza, and then he asked me to take the knife on the right hand, and it said, hey, keep your finger like this, apply the pressure, and then cut near the fork. I tried, first, second time, third time, and it worked very well, and that really came in handy for the rest of my Cambridge life, and of course for the next 30 years of my corporate life as well. Thank you, Amaresh, for teaching me how to use knife and fork. And then I was thinking, it was great, it's a senior giving me a free pizza, that day, I thought that's great. And then he popped me the question, okay? I looked at him and I said yes. What was the question? Probably you're wondering. He asked me, do you know how to type? I said, yes, I can type 60 to 80 words per minute. And he said, excellent. I have a few pages for you to type, I said, okay, there is no concept of free lunch there. Okay. So the next day, I go to Engineering Design Center. Next slide, please. There you go. He puts up 500 pages of his thesis with few pages written in hand and a lot of pictures and say, here you go, Dwarka. You said you can type fast. I said, my God. But I can assure you, I took a lot of pizzas for typing the thesis. That's something. And I got my name in the thesis as well. Thank you, Amaresh. This was great because I learned a lot about design research, and I actually wanted to work on manufacturing. But then, because I had worked with Professor Gurumurthy on process planning before, by going from IISc to Cambridge. And then after discussing a lot with him, I changed my topic to design research, So I learned from you, and thanks for all those things as well, to do that. And if you go to the next picture, I think this was the people, 14 of us at the design center, and Lucian is there as well, myself and Amaresh are there. And Lucian was actually my half supervisor. She did, really knock the sense out of me, in terms of design research, and I owe a lot of my thesis for her. Thank you, Lucian, for being there. Next slide, please. I think we are, Amaresh Da, myself, Lucian, and many of you here at IISc, in the engineering department or mechanical engineering department know Ken Wallace. Ken Wallace was my supervisor, and we all fondly remember Ken for that as well. He is, many of us remember Ken as many things. For me, he is a great organizer. I've not seen that great organizers even in the corporate world. And he was a gifted teacher at Cambridge. For many, many years, he was the #1 in terms of the teacher, being voted by the students. And he was a best presenter I've ever known, because even when he was really at his best, he always practiced 3 to 4 times his presentations. And I learned a lot from him on that as well. The next one, please. I think this is the 4 of us, at Darwin College, all of us from the same college. Amaresh Da, myself, you have Shubir on the left, and then Shoibal. We always used to be together. We were prowling to see where the next food is going to come from, whom we can catch for our next dinner. So that's what our habit used to be. And really, one day, the Shubir on the left and Amaresh came to our rooms. We were all in a street very famously called Walkworth Street at Cambridge. And Amaresh Das said, Dwarka, for the first year students who have come, it's your responsibility to cook Diwali dinner. And Diwali dinner, we went in October, Diwali was in November, and we said, you guys have to cook. I think we really started, with Amaresh and Shubi to learn how to cook. We didn't know whether you put oil or water with the mustard for the mustard to burst. That's the level of knowledge we had. And then we learned very well with the guidance of Amaresh and Shubir. He's not only a good researcher, but he's an excellent cook too. You may or may not know. I'll give you some more examples later. So then what happened is that one day, he caught us to really do something called From an Expert to the Lay series. As Anil said earlier, Amaresh was involved in many, many things at Cambridge. And he was originator of a lecture series called From the Expert to Lay. That means all the Indian students who are doing PhDs or postdocs explain their projects to the other, who are young Indians who have come, just freshly joined as well. So that's something, we absolutely enjoyed as well with Amaresh. There are many, many activities we have been working together. A couple of things I would like to narrate here. First one is that is, as I said, is cooking as well. Is cooking. And Amaresh Da one day, late in the afternoon when we were hungry at the EDC, he said, Dwarka, would you like to eat something? And I said, yes. Shall we go and make something? I said, okay, what are you going to make? He said, I will make you bengan bartha. All right, so he loves bengan bartha, and he said, let's go to Sainsbury's, that's the supermarket. We'll go and get the bengan, and we'll get the vegetable oil. And he had a specific oil in mind as well. We went there, and he asked me to say, Dwarka, you should cut it with 2 millimeters precision and consistency. As an engineer, I thought I can do that. I had that skill. I cut these Bengan Bartha slices, 2 millimeters, and later I found 50% of what I cut was in the dustbin, because he didn't like this consistency, And when we started putting the Bengan Bartha in the tawa, to boil it, he said, or to fry it, the oil should be at the half of the height of the slice. It should not be above or it should not be below. It should be half the height. And you should not put oil on top. You should turn it so that it is fried on both sides but soft inside. And I said, my God, this guy, I thought he was only so, intense on design, but he was intense on everything, like Anil said. And when it comes to eating, he's precise in how way things are cooked. But at the end of the day, he asked me, Dwarka, did you like this Bengan Bartha? He was so passionate, I couldn't say no. But after 33 years, Amaresh, I can say I did not like that Bengan Bartha at all. There's no spices. You just put some turmeric and then you turned it around. I will do it next time you come to my house, so do that. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that, you go to the next slide. There's the group of people, the one after that, please. Okay. There's the group of people on the left side, you say Abhijit Guha, Amaresh, myself, and the two or three of others. We always, meet to have long Adda sessions, So in terms of, we have profound or sometimes, very simple discussions as well. It ends up having it in Abhijita's house because he was a fellow at the college. And you know what? Some of the topics of discussions, I would not, probably I will give you some examples, but we always discuss for 7-8 years. We finish at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we will always finish with a double omelette with 6 slices of bread, buttered and toasted for everybody. That's our usual routine. And Amaresh was very good at making them as well. So, and when it comes to the discussions, what we have, it's again, one of the topics of discussions we had was, I'm sure you all know floppy disk, right? You heard about floppy disks. I'm showing my age here. One of the discussions we had was, if you have an empty floppy disk and if you have a floppy disk with full of data, which will weigh heavier? We had 8 hours of discussion on that topic, and then many other sort of profound topics as well. But apart from that, as Anil was saying, we also work together on several initiatives. And the next slide, please. This was the one, for the Rwanda sort of genocide in 1994. We worked with Save the Children across Cambridge to really, get money for, for the Rwandans there and especially the children. So Amaresh was leading that activity. Please raise your hand, clap, for Amaresh for doing all this wonderful work. But apart from that, if you go look at the next slide, we often on the Independence Day go and capture a Darwin Island, which is in Darwin College, to raise our flag as well. So with that, what I would like to show is that 2 or 3 other of my friends from Cambridge who couldn't be here, they've sent some birthday wishes as well. So next one, please. This is from Uday, in Australia, Amreshda. So fondly remembers all the discussions, the philosophical and the non-philosophical ones as well. So there he shares. And the next one from Shubir on the left. Yeah. You can press it. Yeah, other one. The sound will come. All right, I think I'll voice over it. It's Shubir wishing you, a really happy birthday. But he says a lot of things in Bangla, which I, can't repeat. But there you go. So it's good. Maybe his voice is not there. So, so Amaresh, what I would like, probably there's one with Shoibal as well. I don't think the sound will come, so I'll not show you that. Thank you very much, for being part of. Allowing me to be part of your life for the last 30 plus years and to be part of my life as well. I really enjoyed interacting with you. As my wife Suji says always, age is just a number, right? So when I saw you 32 years ago, you had full of energy, jumping up and down when you had new ideas. And I saw that last time when you asked me to become an adjunct faculty at CPDM as well. Thank God you didn't ask me to type another thesis, Have a wonderful birthday as well, bye-bye.
So I'd like to hand over the mic to Shakuntala Didi, who will be your host for the rest of this evening.
Thank you. So the next phase of life, where we call him Prof, or Sir, or AC. So we'll take a look from that point of his life. And to begin, as always, we need a heavyweight opener. So I request Professor Gurumurthy to please come over and share his story.
Thank you, Shakuntala, Apala and Anuradha for asking me to speak here. Let me just gather my thoughts for a minute. Yeah, okay. I had warned Anuradha that I had made a similar speech some time back, and she said the audience is going to be completely different. I am already seeing, 10 people here who are there, so all of you can plug your ears, and the rest can listen to me, right? Amaresh, actually, I came to know him first through Dwarka, who was here and then went there. And then when he came back, the first time he was telling me about his colleagues and the kind of work that goes on there, and that's the first time I heard about Amaresh. And Lucian too, I think, because they were on a road trip together, Dwarka and Lucian. And then I think one of you had come for his wedding, and that's how I knew more about him. Upala has been giving the answers to the crossword. I hope you have been listening to her very carefully. So I'm going to give you the answer to one of the other, rows or columns there, which is that Amaresh actually has this very unique distinction. He's probably the only guy who has got a job offer from IISc twice. I don't think in the annals of IISc that has happened before. Because institutions seem to remember, oh, this guy rejected me once, I'm not going to talk to this guy again, right? And so that way Amaresh is an exception. The first time he got an offer from mechanical engineering, I think he came by to meet me. I think A.N. Murthy was involved somehow. I don't know what the connection was, but then he did meet me. And I spent probably an hour talking to him about what he can do at IISc. And he promptly went to Japan, So that's how effective my advice was, that he decided that he didn't want anything to do with IISc, and he went to Japan, right? But fortunately, TSM and others had started this Center for Product Design. And I guess that was a good opportune time for him to apply. And he joined CPDM. So I think in many ways, he's a force of nature. I think all of us who work with him know that it's very difficult to say no to him. You find that you have a conversation with him, and then you are saddled with something that you never thought you were going to do, but you're doing it because Amaresh is asking you to do it, right? And so I'm very happy that for a large part of my life, I was the chairman and he was faculty. And by the time he became chairman, I sort of grew old enough that, he couldn't do that to me. I shudder to think, to be working with him as chair. This joke used to be about H.T. Kung. He was a VLSI champ at CMU. And he was very driven. And his advisor apparently once remarked that I'm happy that, he was my student, not the other way around. And the same applies to Amaresh as well. I'm sure, Ken Wallace and others would have also said the same thing about Amaresh. Right? One of the things I think, seriously though, I must say that he has contributed to us as a department is that, running a design department in the Institute of Science is not very easy, right? Because, this is an institute where the saying goes like, bad science is engineering, bad engineering is management, and perhaps bad management is design. That's where probably design is, we actually turned it around and said bad management is administration, but then, they chose to ignore that part of it. That's where design was, and so to sort of get that gravitas for the department, that probably was one of the singular contributions that Amaresh made, that people had to take us a little bit more seriously, after than they were before. And so that definitely is a contribution. And elsewhere too, I mean, I think design is a very, ideologically driven community, right? And Bernie Roth used to say that, it doesn't matter, designers must have an ideology. Not to have an ideology is also an ideology, but you must have an ideology, right? And unfortunately, people in India, the designers in India at least take it very seriously. And they protect their turf very, very, religiously. And so it takes a lot of effort to break into that, primarily so that our students get job offers in other design departments elsewhere, right? And I think, again, Amaresh has had a big role. I remember we went together to this event in Goa, where Prabhu Kandachar and others from Delft were trying to write a note for the government of India on what we should be doing about design, right? And to get some of the narrative, aligned with the vision we in CPDM have was a big challenge. And, I'm glad he was with me then. And we could make some penetration. I cannot say we succeeded completely, but then, there was some success there. I think Boeing is another project that we did for about nearly 5-6 years, I think. A lot of funding came in from Boeing to the department, and that again helped us, and Amaresh had a big role to play there. So I think looking back, CPDM will have to say that they got more out of Amaresh than Amaresh out of CPDM. So thank you very much for that. And my only thing, indeed, yeah. My only thing would be that, in addition to health and happiness that I wish to him and to his family, I also wish that he gets the remaining 40,000 square feet of space that we are looking for. So Godspeed. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. So with that, I'm going to now draw your attention to the efforts put together by the members of the Ideas Lab. The Ideas Lab started 22 years ago. The idea of Ideas Lab, when it started, I do not know. We must ask, sir. Ideas stand for innovation, design, education, and innovation studies, design studies, and sustainability. All of us work in these varied areas, which has then helped us develop our own paths, and not only in research, but also in life. It also gave us a home and a family. My family is all here, with whom we grew up, we cried, we shared, we cribbed, we did coffee, lots of coffee. And we did some good work. So I take this opportunity to take you through that. Meanwhile, I'm going to hand over the mic to one of the very early Ideas Lab members, Vishal. Vishal Singh is now a faculty at IISc, and I think he should do the honors.
Right. Once again, happy birthday, sir. It's always difficult to say something in front of Professor Chakravarti. So the reason being the relationship is quite interesting, right? So once a student, you're always a student. And once a faculty, you're always a faculty. And very soon I realized, I studied architecture and then I was doing my master's at IISc. And very soon I realized that I knew very little about architecture. And every time you speak to Professor Chakravarti, he would sort of talk about architecture, arts. I think that's something that's already talked about. He's a Renaissance man, right? So from sports to anything that you talk about, you'll be lost in a couple of moments because you'll not know what you're really talking. And then you'll stay corrected because he's the teacher, he will correct you. So so I started becoming very defensive in some ways, right? So I realized that, okay, I'll be getting caught very soon. So the easiest way out is, just to keep quiet. And that's something which is not about, this is something that tells you about how much the person knows. And it's also how much energy he has, right? So the way our interactions with Professor Chakravarti started is when I joined, I think he had only been here a year or two. I think this was the first time he was taking CED. And he also was into, and he's still into art of living, and he practices that on a regular basis. And he tried to change some of us as well. Perhaps he realized very early that it doesn't work that well. So in the classroom, he started talking about meditation, and as part of the CED process. So he would ask us to sort of take a 5-minute sort of break, meditate, and very soon he realized that half of the class was sleeping. They actually felt, they slept because many of us would work overnight. We'll go back from 4 a.m., we'll go back to the hostels, come back at 8:30, and they will come for these CD classes, which are very fascinating, very interesting. But the meditation was a real good break for us, right? The moment we got that opportunity, we'll have a 1-hour nap sort of thing. And then probably in a couple of years, he realized that, it didn't cut the ice, so probably he took that off. So, okay. All right, so here now, so I'll stop at that now. We'll go through the slides, what the lab has put together. And I'm sure my experiences are very similar to many of us that I represent here. And once again, it's great to be back here, earlier as a student, now as a colleague. But as I said, once a student, you always remain a student. So I keep learning and will continue to keep learning from him.
Sir has a wonderful sense of humor. Let's put that to the test. The lab members have put together some interesting memes. I hope you're all taking notes. Always trying out new ways to push the boundaries of science. The innumerous celebrations that we have had with our extended family at CPDM. Questioning. A very important character that we were always encouraged to do. And of course, inspect, test. The lab members have also put together a short performance. We will just give a small snapshot of it. It won't take it. We tried. Yeah. performance is, of course, specially for Sir, which we love to share. And all the lab members have put together a little token of our appreciation for Sir. Can I request them to hand it over to Sir? Yeah. Meanwhile, we'll play the audio of the performance that they have put together. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the years of being there. We wish you a very warm birthday. And with that, we come to the conclusion and known Amaresh sir a little better this evening. Please note, there is a little riddle or a puzzle amongst ourselves that the three across, yeah, did you figure that out? Yes. So, and we were also really hoping to give you a small token and personalized token sketched by Sir by the end of this evening. But unfortunately, it didn't arrive as yet. As we all know, in our journey of design research, the search is very long and tedious. So we need to keep waiting for the next occasion. We will send it across to you. It's made with a lot of love, a small token that you can keep close to your heart. That's the clue, okay? And with that, I invite you. Oh, right. A very special friend. May I please invite Sir to share a few words?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I came late. But my name is Pranab Chakraborty, and my association with Amaresh is 42 years now. And B College, classmate. My roll number is 13, Amaresh is 12. And I came to know Amaresh actually has ditched me. That we came to know later. Because in B College, our hostel was always based on the title. Chakraborty, Chakraborty, Chakraborty. Suddenly he was in a different hostel. Later on he found out he didn't want to come, stay with us. That's a different thing. But anyway, so coming to Amaresh, he is always our first boy. That's given. And not only first boy, the difference would be like, probably, 10%, 15% of marks from the first boy to second. So, so Amaresh is there. But yes, Amaresh is a first boy, very nice in studies, that's given. But then I came to know, yeah, this guy has also a quality. We had a good football team. Suddenly Amaresh has entered there as one of the top footballers. Okay, footballer, good in studies. Then I suddenly see that, okay, excellent sketcher. And I don't know how many of you have seen his sketch, or I don't know how you do it now. I still remember vividly, he was drawing a back kick of a football, and he obviously is. And he started with the boot that is doing the back kick. And I said, what is he drawing? After a couple of minutes, the whole figure comes in figure. So yeah, I still remember that. And, one or two tidbits, Amaresh, and I have to say that Amaresh was always sitting in the exam, just diagonally this side of me, because it's always 12 and 13. Okay. And Amaresh will come, if it is starting at exam at 1:30, at 1:29, 30 seconds, he will come, just collect the paper, enter it, and start writing. And we were all thinking, yeah, okay. So anyway, we sometimes would collaborate in the exam hall, just like that. I don't know, Amaresh, I know you have many students among you, so I don't know what should I tell. But Amaresh was always exception. No collaboration. So one day, I think Amaresh suddenly asked me, what is the diameter of the flywheel you got in that answer? And I still remember that exam. So I told something, Amaresh didn't say any word. So later on I come out that, okay, yes, I was very confident, I have done it correct, because a couple of my friends have all got same answer. And Amaresh had got different answer. I said, yeah, for one day, for one exam, for one question, I think Amaresh is wrong and we are right. We are very happy. Then unfortunately we come out, no, we 3, 4 or 5 people all have done wrong and Amaresh has done right. I still can't forget that. So anyway, Amaresh, it's a gem of a person, and he's still in our whatever college group. I could see his versatility as an artist, as a nice poet. I don't know how many, I don't know how he, in ISC, whether that fame is there or not, but a nice poet, excellent singer. So musician, as a artist, as a top footballer, Amaresh, you are truly a really versatile, gifted personality and a true friend of mine for 43 years.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I think now that gets us really wanting. We have opened it for dinner. Please proceed. And after that, I have a little request. We'll be setting up these little boards at the back. You all get your little post-its. Don't put ideas and solutions. Put a little message for sir, so that we can keep it for the long term. So we'll put it up. And we will also see who scored really well on the crossword during dinner. So please join us for dinner. Thank you.